Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to my chess games. So in this series I will show you a couple my games. I will only show you real nice tactical shots or maybe good positional games that I have played recently. So I think I can show you some really nice games. And a couple of days ago I played a game against FIDE Master. He was around 2250 rated, and he played the Queen's Gambit accepted. And I really wanted to show you a nice line of this Queen's Gambit accepted, which you can apply in your own games if you're of course a d4 player. So I have played here of course d4, d5, knight on f3, knight on f6, c4. So we have here d6, d takes c4, and now e3. Of course, attacking here the pawn. b5 possibilities can to protect the pawn, of course, can be met with a4. So we have here now e6, and I simply took, and now comes this common move in the Queen's Gambit accepted, this c5. Of course, I don't want to take here this pawn on c5 because of this positional threat of trading the queens here on the d file. So of course I have to let it a little bit dynamic here, a couple of moves. So I played simply castle. Now my opponent plays the move a6, and this is now a common mistake that you can make in this Queen's Gambit accepted line, is the move knight on c3. Then of course your opponent has the move b5, and then after that maybe even moves as b4 to attack your knight and bishop, so he get 2 extra tempos. So that's why I play this move queen to e2. Now after b5, which my opponent played, I played bishop to d3, and you see if my opponent now plays c4, I can go here bishop on c2, but then the position here is a little bit fixed here of the spawns, and then I have a nice central control with moves as e4. Of course, then I have bishop to g5, and then I can go knight from b to d2, and there's no way for the pawns to attack my pieces, so black doesn't gain any more space, and I don't think that's a good line. That's a good line for black. So in the game was played bishop to b7, and now I took here on c5. We have of course bishop to c5, and here I want to really to memorize this in this line here, the setup by white, a6 and b5. It is of course sort of a space advantage here on the queen side by black, and you don't want this pawns to be dynamic, and there's one particular move which can stop this this possibility of this pawns to be to get dynamic, and I played it. Of course, it is the move a4. So you see, if your opponent plays now b4, you can go then knight on d2, then knight on b3, which is attacking here this bishop, and after that you can even more block the position with move as a5. So you already cut out his connection of the spawns. And of course, if your opponent tries to protect the b4 with a5, well, this would really leave some light square problems here. Then you can play maybe moves as bishop to b5, and this is of course by black leaving a huge space here on his queen side. And on this space you can put some pressure, of course. So we have here now after a4, my opponent plays b takes a4, and now rook on a4. And there's this funny thing about this rook lifts. When you have this early rook lift in a game, you get to get use of that. You have to do something with that rook. Basically, the worst thing that you can do is allow your opponent to somehow kick your rook away on the starting square of a1. When you have a an early rook lift, as said, you want to get use of that. So you see now the rook is already on the 4th rank, and it can really nicely play here on the 4th rank to the square of h4. And of course, after my opponent castled, I played first the move e4. Now we have a5. Probably my opponent tried here maybe a bishop sacrifice, because he saw that maybe this bishop is very strong. And now I played the move e5, and now we have a problem here for black. He plays the move knight on d5, and I've already talked about this position in my chess tactics and chess puzzle series. So you see, now I realized that my opponent doesn't have any defenders around his king, so he doesn't have here a knight, maybe here a bishop, or a similar defender. So of course now I have to use some tactics. And of course, as I always love to say, that it's not always possible, but at least you have to consider the option that of the sacrifice. So let's see now. You see now my very nice coordination of pieces. This rook can go, of course, on h4. This bishop is aiming on h7. The knight can go on g5, which is of course supported by the bishop, and the queen can also put some pressure here through the square of h5. And of course, find now the tactical motive, and I've already talked about it in my chess tactics. So of course you can pause the video and find the correct move here. And of course it's the move bishop takes on h7. So now of course black has to take. King takes on h7. Now the rook comes very nice into the game with the check. King to g8. Now you see a very nice coordination by the pieces. We have here now knight on g5, which is sort of a threat here of course queen to h5, and this will be of course a losing game for black. So he played the move g6. Now I played queen to g4, and well, it's almost made this almost unavoidable here, because after king to g7, of course my opponent is trying here to challenge the rook on the h file. Of course he would love here to trade some pieces, because he is now in sort of a passive position here. And now I played the move rook on h7, and king to g8, and here I have this sort of, well, space clearance motif. Of course, if my opponent takes now, then I have queen to h4, and then queen to g7 checkmate. So that's why he didn't play that. He played again this king to g7, and I've also talked about this motif of space clearance. So and again I will show you this 2 links to this chess puzzles and chess tactics video at the end of this video. So we have here now again rook on h7, king on g8, queen to h4, and now my opponent tried at least maybe deflect the queen from the attack, but of course I took with the rook. Knight on f6 came, and here I have this check after king to g7, queen to h6 checkmate. So again, realize after this move bishop to c5, this is a very nice breakthrough here on the queen side. Of course, as said, let's see the continuation. Maybe b4 can be played, but then you have simply knight on d2, and your opponent maybe develops here knight on c6. Then you have knight on b3 challenging the bishop. So the bishop can stay here on this diagonal. If it goes here maybe on b6, you have immediately maybe moves this a5 to really attack here, or maybe preparations with moves this rook to d1, and this will be a really nice attack against your opponent. So the other thing is, after this b takes a4, and after this rook takes on a4, really consider this rook lift. Don't retreat with the rook. Try to find a nice active square for the rook, which is of course here the h4. And I think it will be really annoying when it goes into the game in this early stage of the game. I'll talk about this rook lifts in my middle game strategy. I'll show you a really nice position where the rook has come into the game in a very early stage of the game, and it will dominate really all over the board. And I think it will be a fun session, because there are always this common tactical shots with these rooks, and of course very nice games. So as said, you can watch my chess tactics and chess puzzle videos with these common sacrifices on the square of h7, and of course you can also watch my space clearance chess tactics, chess puzzles video, and of course you can also subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, guys. Chess is the best.